Hi, welcome to Your Stars Within. I'm Little Wave, and today I want to talk about relationships. So I'm going to draw your attention to your Venus sign. Where Venus was amongst the constellations when you were born, the sign, the house, and the connections it makes tells us a lot about you and your relationships. It tells us about how you like to be loved, sort of like your love language, how you feel loved. And it also tells us about how you show love, how you interact with others in the world, particularly those who are closer friends for you. So I'm going to go through today and just talk about if Venus is in the different signs. So, if Venus is in Aries, right? We know Aries is fast. We know it's impulsive. So you may tend to fall in love quickly. You may fall out of love quickly. It may be very impulsive or lots of short little relationships. You may have a high need for excitement and enthusiasm in your relationships. You have a need to have adventure or high energy to be doing things in a relationship. And you probably try to win others over by showing them, look how fun I am, look what I do, look at all the things you can do with me. Venus in Aries can make a person more self-centered or a very me approach. That if you're in a relationship with someone whose Venus is in Aries, you have to find it endearing. They're childlike or sometimes selfish approaches. You have to see the innocence in it. They can be playful, entertaining, anything for the laugh, and a lot of fun. If your Venus is in Taurus, this is an earth sign, right? Taurus is the bull. It is slow. It's going to be possessive. It's going to be careful, cautious who you give your heart to. Reliable and loyal. They're very sensual beings. Taurus is a very, very sensual sign. We have to remember that one of the rulers of Venus is Taurus. They'll tend to cook for you, want to give you a massage, right? And it's also how you, if you're Taurus, your Venus is in Taurus, how you tend to show love. Can I, let's light this candle, right? Scent. Let's cook this food. Let's enjoy this luxury. That's a way that Taurus likes to show love. They can be a little bit slow to develop a relationship and need to be cautious about weight gain once they're comfortable. Venus in Gemini, remember Gemini is very active and it's the twins. It likes to be talking, chatting, needs a lot of variety. So when Venus is placed here, this person may be a little bit hard to nail down. If you're a person with Venus in Gemini, you may notice that commitment's not really your number one goal, or that relationships, when they go on and on for a long time, can get a little bit stale for you. That you really like to keep that energy moving. You may have many friends, many different groups, and you like to talk a lot about the things that you know, the things that you find interesting. People with Gemini in Venus could watch a movie and then go out to dinner and talk all about the movie. But you will get the sense that talking about deeper topics might be a little bit uncomfortable for a person with Gemini in Venus. They just like to keep that a little bit lighter. If you have Cancer in Venus, remember Cancer is the mother, the moon, right? It's very, very nurturing, needs a very high amount of safety. It's the crab, right? Crawls in the shell. So a person with Venus in Cancer always feels like, oh no, what if I get left, behind? What if I'm not loved anymore? So there's a lot of sort of insecurity around Cancer or underdevelopment emotionally with Venus in Cancer. You'll tend towards relationships that either you're nurturing them, they're nurturing you. Nurturing is very, very important. I'm guessing that you like to take care of others. You like relationships that are predictable, that are committed. A person with Venus in Cancer will be very, very thoughtful and very attentive. But they're also noticing sort of the underlying of the words that others say and whether or not they're being thought of and attended to as well. They can be easily hurt, and so they do need the reassurance that they need to be told that they're loved. If they're feeling insecure, they might resort to passive-aggressive tactics, right? The crab kind of doesn't go straight at its goal. It sort of goes to the side and then towards its goal. And that's kind of how whatever planet's in Cancer, how it functions. And Cancer, if you have Venus in Cancer, you may tend to hold on to the past a little too much. You may have some trouble letting go of the past. When Venus is in Leo, right? Leo the lion, it is loud and proud. It's going to let everybody know how it's feeling about someone, and likes for the other person to let everyone know how they're feeling about him or her. Even a pretty docile personality, if they have Venus in Leo, will be a little bit demanding and a little bit bossy might be the right word, or likes to be in charge. I want to do all my activities with you, but I want to do the activities that I like. Not exactly fair in how much time is spent, on activities the other might like. They have a very high need to feel special, and for grand gestures, both to give grand gestures, to receive grand gestures. They can be very warm. They can have very high expectations of themselves and of others. There is a strong need for a sexual connection with Venus in Leo, but it has to be with love. They don't tend to stay in things that are purely physical. There's definitely a need for a lot of attention. So if you're trying to win over Venus in Leo, give them a lot of attention. If we were to put Venus in Virgo, Virgo gets a bad rap. Virgo gets a bad rap for being critical. And so Venus is not always the most comfortable when it's in Virgo. But really, if we understand the person with the Venus in Virgo, they're trying to love you and they're trying to better you. They're doing that sometimes by pointing out a lot of your flaws. And so we can experience somebody with Venus in Virgo as highly critical, maybe never satisfied, never good enough. Though really, if you were to ask them, they're taking their time and their energy and they're investing it in helping you to grow. They're very dedicated, a lot of follow through. They're very good at details. So this is the person who's going to be maybe quieter in their love, but then they'll do your taxes for you. They'll edit that novel you've been writing. They will put a lot of time and energy into helping you with the details of your life. Libra is the other co-ruler of Venus. So Venus is very comfortable in Libra. Libra likes harmony. So when it's there, relationships will tend to be harmonious, they'll be lighthearted, and like Libra, probably gloss over the details, gloss over the unhappy parts, the things that are harder to talk about, that a lot of times they may, only want to talk about the happy end of relationships and ignore, the more difficult ones. You might even talking about those, but then they may never bring it up because it's uncomfortable and doesn't feel so harmonious. Venus in Libra will not be attracted to anything that's too harsh or too intense. So if they go on a date and somebody's got bad manners, that's going to be a turnoff right away. If the other person's maybe very politically charged and real harsh about it, that's going to be a turnoff even if they generally were to agree with the points of views. So they like things to feel easy and flowing, not so hard. Scorpio, we get to Scorpio and Venus. Scorpio is a very intense sign. And so it is no different with relationships. Relationships for a person who has Scorpio and Venus is going to be very intense. Relationships are not this lighthearted, easy, harmonious thing for a person with Venus and Scorpio. They're this deep, intense, transformative experiences. And the person will engage in it that way. So for those looking for lighter relationships, they may find that this person is too heavy or intense, that relationship starts to lose some of its joyful quality. But for a person who really wants the depth and the intensity to all the little nooks and crannies, whether it's sexual or psychological, this person's going to want to know every part of you. And for someone who wants that or craves that of Venus and Scorpio might feel really good to you. Like they won't gloss over, the difficult aspects. Scorpio does have a need to maintain some level of a power position. They might like power games in general, but they also tend to stay in relationships where they have some level of feeling of control, or either that they're controlling the other or that they have some safety within themselves. This person maybe loves them a little bit more and they have a little bit of that power. they will often not admit to this, but if they take a real look inside just to themselves, they may notice a pattern. When Venus is in Sagittarius, Sagittarius is the adventurer, right? He's the archer. Sagittarius people, they're very caught up in the moment. They're very in the now. Love comes easily. They fall in love easily, or they think they fall in love easily. They will tell you they love you before they are sure. So if you were a person like a Taurus or Cancer and Venus, and somebody with Sagittarius there is telling you that they love you, they may not mean it at the same commitment level and longevity that you would mean it at. They're not going to take quite so long to feel that way, and they may get very swept up and then move on. In the moment, they like to laugh. They laugh big. They like to learn from their partners. They're very playful. They tend to want to do everything together and enjoy being adventurous together. They do have some need for freedom and socializing with others, when they crave it. But they're generally very happy to have you along and be playful together for however long that journey lasts, right? When we get to Capricorn, Venus in Capricorn, we're talking about Capricorn's a very ambitious and goal-oriented, but plodding along, slow and thoughtful, methodical. So same way in relationships, they're going to maybe be a little bit slow to make those commitments and to be won over. They're actually a little bit shy in love, which they don't tend to admit to so much. They will always show you that they're self-controlled and they're responsible and they're cool-headed, often able to provide, or that's going to be very important to a person with Cancer and Venus in Capricorn, either to be the provider or to have somebody who can provide for them. They're loyal. They're not highly spontaneous. Sometimes they may be trying to recreate the image of an older relationship, like one of their parents' relationships, something like that. They can be goal-oriented, so if you're looking to, meet and get married in this timeline and have children in that timeline, this might be a kind of person who you could do that with. They're very reliable lovers. They are highly aware of status and money, and they do try to date and marry or befriend upward of their status. If you have Venus in Aquarius, Aquarius tends to be a very open-minded sign, but it is a fixed sign. So it's air, so it likes to talk and likes to talk about its knowledge, and it likes to be very social, but it has a little bit more groundedness to it. Tends to be very open-minded, likes it a lot when you share their views, but they're very open to everybody's views. Maybe interested in unusual or non-traditional relationships. Not very high on big emotional displays. Tends to be a little bit more friendly in a relationship, like we're friends, I'm here to support you, let's have interesting conversation, more so than the deep intensity or the big displays of emotion. And then last but not least, of course, is Pisces. When Venus is in Pisces, the first word that comes to me when I think about Venus in Pisces is sacrificing. Sacrifice too much of themselves for others. Give too much. Not know where that boundary is that says, okay, that's what you need to work on and I'm going to be over here. Tends to see the good in people. Does not tend to be very practical or look at things like status and money. Believe it or not, although they really like to be in relationships, commitments can be a little bit hard for them. I think they tend to like to be in the flow of things, maybe a little unsure exactly what direction they always want to be in. But they do tend to give too much when they're in a relationship. Or maybe not always make enough decisions or speak up enough about what they do want, so they kind of just get, dragged along into whatever their partner wants. And they see it like they're giving that. But then oftentimes that builds into a resentfulness, or if that partner has some issue with them, then they feel like, well, but I've always given you what you want. And that can turn into that martyr complex that we sometimes see with Pisces. So you need to be aware to not give so much that then you have the rebound of the martyr. Very, very accepting of others. If you have Venus in Pisces, if you're loved by somebody with Venus in Pisces, they tend to be very accepting of who you are at all times. Room to grow, not demanding you to be somebody that you're not. So it can be a real gift to be loved by somebody with Venus in Pisces. And that covers our signs. I hope that you are starting to make some sense of your chart. Thank you for joining me, Little Wave, here at Your Stars Within.